Today we're going to be talking about equine facilitated psychotherapy. That doesn't involve doing psychotherapy on a horse. It involves using a horse to facilitate the therapist into helping the client. And I must say that having the horse in the studio here has done wonders for calming me down in front of a camera. Our guest is Lisa Renee Nelson, and you are a marriage, family, and child therapist, is that it? But you also work with horses.
Yes. So I'm a marriage family therapist, but I do equine facilitated psychotherapy, which means that essentially the horse is my co-therapist.
How can that be?
I know. Well, horses, because they're prey animals, they're very, very in tune to everything that's going on. And so a lot of times they'll pick up things faster than a human therapist can pick up and reflect back immediately what's going on with the client before possibly the therapist or the client are even aware of it.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. Give me an example.
Okay, so this one time I was working with a teenage boy. And he came to the session, we were talking, and he said, yeah, I'm doing fine. I said, okay, great. And we started having him groom the horse. And the horse started kind of prancing around a little bit, going away from not being calm. And so because I had already explained to him and he'd had, several sessions, we stopped and it's like, okay, so what's going on with Raffy, the horse? And he goes, you know what? I just realized that I actually am upset because I got in a fight with Mom on the way here. I said, oh, okay. So once he recognized and acknowledged his feelings, then all of a sudden the horse became very calm, and then grooming was very quiet. And then the next thing that happened was amazing, where we were starting to do some natural horsemanship, and the boy was trying to make the horse do this one thing, and the horse kind of got stubborn and the boy got stubborn, and then they got into kind of like this, they were like this, and I just let it happen, and then finally the boy just stopped. And a lot of times in those situations it's not good for me to intervene. You just allow it to work its way through. And I said, okay, so what's going on right now? And he looked, and then he stopped. He goes, I'm being my mom and Raffy's being me.
Wow.
So in that moment he realized that he was doing the same thing. And so once he recognized that, then we were able to process what was going on.
Yeah, but you could never have told him that.
Especially a teenage boy.
Yeah. But there are other people that you work with who really benefit from equine therapy, and who are they? What kind of people come to you? What kind of people can really benefit from this? Pretty
much anyone. I would say horses are not comfortable with people that are psychotic, so an actively psychotic person I wouldn't recommend. But anyone, anxiety, depression, conflict that's going on with others, pretty much any reason that you come to a therapist for.
How would a horse react to a psychotic person?
Well, because the psychotic person has a lot going on in their mind and they're not based in reality. Horses, because they're prey animals, are attuned to everything that's going around them. And so when they try to read that person, they're reading them that there's something wrong with this person. And so when there's some inner dialogue that is psychotic and they're acting odd, it's not normal human behavior, and they can tell what's normal and what's not normal human behavior.
Yeah. So in a way, a horse is the measure of what's normal, because a horse just is reality. He's just there.
He's in the moment.
In the moment.
Yeah.
And people often aren't.
Most of the time we're not, as human beings, not in the moment.
Why is that?
Last time I checked, I wasn't a philosophy major. I don't know. It's the way our brains are wired, and it's unlike the horse's brain.
Yeah. Doing research on this before the show, I learned that a horse can bypass the intellect and relate to emotions and to the heart.
Yes.
And it occurs to me that often we're involved in our intellect and not in our coming from a heart space. And so the horse, just by being there, could kind of calm us down to that, bring us into the moment.
Absolutely. And they have actually done research, validated research, that you always hear, I don't know what it is about horses, but every time I get around them, I get so calm. And they found research that they've done, I think it was with HeartMath, where the horse's heart and the human heart, there was an entrainment that happened. And so the hearts started beating together.
Entrainment means?
That, exactly that they start beating together. Yeah.
Yeah. And I understand that vets, people with post-traumatic stress disorder, can benefit this, or maybe autistic people.
Yes.
Because, you know, a horse is not threatening, and I guess it just allows you to gradually come out.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And people working with cancer can also benefit. How can that be?
Well, a lot of times it's just being outside and being with a horse, because their whole lives with having cancer is they're like going to different doctors and they're being cut open and being poked and prodded and all those things. And when they get to be around a horse, they get to be in the moment. And so when you're in the moment, that's all that exists. And there's this freedom that occurs. And so I have worked with people that have had terminal cancer, and they just find their joy again. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's kind of like a Zen master.
Exactly.
The Zen master puts you into the moment, and so does a horse.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do dogs do this, or is there something that's unique to a horse?
It's unique to the horse because dogs are predators and horses are prey animals. So a prey animal, for instance, horses, if they're in the wild and they look and they see 300 yards away a cougar or a wolf, they can tell the intention of that animal, whether that animal, the predator, is hungry and looking at them for lunch, or whether they've eaten and that they have no interest. So that's the level that they're able to discern.
Right. What is this horse's name?
Her name is Asha, and it means fulfillment of the heart's desire.
Yeah, which is pretty much what we've been talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, women, I think, are particularly drawn to horses because?
Good question.
Why is that?
You know, I don't have an exact answer just because I'm a woman, so I know that I live and breathe horses, and I have ever since I can remember.
Yeah. You started when you were how old?
Well, my dad put me on a horse when I was 2 years old, and I was riding independently by the time I was 4. And I loved it.
Yeah.
So I didn't play with dolls as a kid. I had horse models.
Yeah. How did you decide to become a psychotherapist?
I always wanted to. I always wanted to be a therapist. So I took a circuitous route to it, but yeah, I just...
When you were studying to be a therapist, what was the horse model in the back of your mind?
No.
Oh.
No. I hadn't heard about equine facilitated psychotherapy until after I was a therapist. And when I first heard of it, I thought, oh my gosh, wouldn't that be amazing? My 2 favorite things in the world together. And so after I became a therapist, I decided that I was going to start learning about equine facilitated psychotherapy and getting training in it. And that's what happened.
But it really wasn't, it must not have been a real revelation. I mean, you must have known all along what horses can do to people, having worked with them yourself. But
well, yes. And so what happened was when I saw a young teenage girl who had an eating disorder. When she started being with a horse, her eating disorder disappeared like that. And I thought, wow, you know what? There is something about horses and health, emotional health. And that's when I started researching it and found out how much horses really contribute.
Yeah, maybe if we move the bucket over here, the horse would come closer to me. And
I
since we're talking about,
can try to move her.
okay, be careful of the mic. Yeah. This horse has ignored me all along. What does that tell you? She's involved in eating, huh?
She's involved in eating, but that also means that you're not on her radar as that you're a threat. So it must mean that she doesn't see you as a threat, which is a good thing. So.
But she's also not giving me any therapy either.
Well, we're not doing therapy right now. She's just eating and we're talking about it.
Yeah, there must be something about the size of the horse that's kind of intimidating. I mean, when you approach a horse, you know, if you're skittish, if you're not in the moment, then, you know, both you and the horse are going to feel it. The horse almost demands that you be present.
Oh, it absolutely demands that you be present.
What do these people do with the horse? I mean, how does the therapy work? Do they ride it? Do they pet it? Do they?
All of the above. It depends on. So, so for instance, let's say you've got a child who, or an adult who has ADHD. Okay, so their brain is all over the place, right?
Right.
And so you might do something as easy as, okay, so we're going to take the horse for a little stroll. And we're going to go from there to there to there. And your challenge is to not let the horse eat any of the grass or put its head down to eat the grass. And invariably, because they have ADHD, they're going to like, oh, you know, all of a sudden look over here, boom, the horse's head goes down, starts eating the grass. So then they have to pick it up, and then they start, it actually can start training themselves to pay attention in the moment. So they learn, okay, so I've got ADHD, but now I know that I've got this biofeedback machine that's a living thing, and I've got to pay attention to it. And then the amount of pride they feel when they're able to go to A, B, and C and not have the horse eat the grass because they're paying attention to the horse.
Right. How long do your clients need to work with a horse before you see results?
The first day.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So, like, let's just say that I've got an anxious client. And so I introduce, and usually if I have a very, very anxious client, I might start with a miniature because they're less threatening than my 1,200-pound horse. So I teach them how to groom, and I might help them pick up the first hoof to clean the hoof, which hoof cleaning is very scary to people. And so I'll help them, and then I'll start, you know, here and then go all the way to the fourth hoof, and then I'll say, well, why don't you try to pick it up yourself and clean it? And when they do it, it's like all of a sudden they go, wow, I did that myself. And they feel proud of themselves and happy, and their anxiety's gone down because they've succeeded at doing something and they've had fun.
Yeah. And a horse is non-threatening and you know, very approachable.
Yep.
So we've got about a minute left. Are there contraindications? You know, we don't want psychotic people working with horses. I read somewhere we don't want people who light fires.
Right.
How could a horse tell that?
Well, no, a horse can't tell that. But you don't want someone to come to the barn with
and burn
matches.
it down. Yeah. So it's not the horse's issue so much. It's you don't want people setting conflagrations around horse therapy centers.
Yeah. Or someone who's really, really abusing animals. We don't want that.
Okay, so, well, Lisa Renee, thank you so much for explaining what you do. This has certainly been a calming experience for me, even if the horse has totally ignored me throughout the whole thing.
Remember, that's a good thing.
Okay, I'll remember that. I feel cured.
There we go.
Okay, Renee, thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Okay, and thank you for watching, and consider working with a horse if you are anxious or feel that you even need a horse. Check it out. It's fun.